started here.
Okay, you're ready.
Screens? We have to, can you hit the?
Oh, I don't. Okay, so what?
We're good? 10 seconds.
Okay. All right. We'll call to order the Town of St. John Board of Zoning Appeals, November 16th, 2020. Rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Guess we'll do roll call. Is Margaret on?
I'm going to be.
You're doing
I'm going to be doing
too?
that for
Okay.
you. Yeah. Okay. So we received notice from Mr. Sheeran that he will not be joining us this evening. Mr. Popovich, I do not believe is with us, at least at this point. Correct.
Correct. I don't see him online.
Okay. Mr. Kennedy,
Here.
Ms. Woland,
Here.
and Mr. LaRue.
Here.
So you have 3 members present, which does constitute a quorum. Just a reminder, any actions taken tonight need to be unanimous by the board.
Thank you.
And Mr. Phillips is present as town manager and acting building and planning director, and Adam Decker.
Good evening.
And Mr. Panzik.
I'm sorry, and Mr. Panzik here.
Okay.
Okay.
As far as approval of minutes, I think we would want to defer that. John, what do you think?
Yes.
Let's make a
Make a
motion.
motion to defer.
Nancy?
I second.
Thank you. All's in favor?
Oh, we have to do a voice vote
I'm
because
sorry.
of,
Okay.
unfortunately, because we're not all present.
That's all you then.
So, Mr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Ms. Woland,
Yes.
Mr. LaRue.
Yes. It's a motion. Any nays? No nays. Motion carries to take up minutes, approval of minutes for next meeting. New business is 2020-008, Tim Caballero at 10120 West Wellington. Petitioner seeking renewal of zoning ordinance chapter 5.2 F-2, or .2, excuse me, detached garage, and chapter 11B3, detached garage height and interior garage finish ceiling height. Tim, if you'd like to come up, introduce yourself, and you're addressing all that fun stuff. And who's with you?
Hello, good evening. My name is Tim Caballero.
Hi, Attorney
Go on,
Morgan
sorry.
Gerlimos, Burke Costanza and Carberry on behalf of Petitioner. I do have some submission of evidence, if I may.
Please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As previously mentioned, we are here today for Petitioner seeking a developmental variance regarding the property located at 10120 West Wellington from the following town code sections, Chapter 5, Section F.2, and Chapter 11, Section B.3. Mr. Caballero owns a property in the R1 zoning district and is proposing to build a second garage at his residence for the purposes of normal residential garage purposes. Chapter 5, Section F.2 requires that detached garages may only be allowed by approval of a developmental variance by the BZA and shall be built consistent with the style and materials of the dwelling. No detached garages may be located in the required rear yard. The proposed garage, which can be seen from a street view on tab 2 of the submission of evidence here, is what we are considering a semi-attached garage to the residence, as it's connected by a pergola and trellis with no obvious gap in between the two structures. The proposed garage will also be built consistently with the style and materials of the dwelling, which can also be visualized by the drawing on tab 2. The proposed garage will not be in the required rear yard, as can be seen on the third page of the engineering improvement plan on tab 3, which will show the proposed garage off to the side of the residence as opposed to the rear yard. Chapter 11B.3 requires that residential garages shall not exceed the lesser of 14 feet or 1 story in height as measured from the existing grade to the roof peak of the structure. Attached residential garages shall not exceed the height of the highest ridgeline of the residence to which said garage is attached. Further, no detached or attached garage shall have a finished ceiling height exceeding 10 feet from the existing grade. The exact height of the proposed garage is unknown at this time.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that again?
I'm sorry, the exact height of the garage, of the proposed garage, is unknown at this time.
Do you have a range? Because if we don't,
I do.
because what we sometimes like to do, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but
Sure.
if we have a conversation,
Yeah,
sometimes we limit the height.
absolutely.
I would imagine, because if we don't know the limit, and we approve anything over 14, not saying he would, but he could
Sure.
take it to any limit. So we would want to have some sort of maximum height that he is looking for. I would imagine it would follow the suit of his house line.
It absolutely will. Not necessarily the suit of his house line, but if you see on tab 2 here, which is a proposed drawing, which was previous, proposed garage off to the left, the height of the said garage is not necessarily in sync with the height of the residence, but of the existing garage that's already there. So we would say
Sorry.
it would be no higher than 25 feet measured from the existing grade to the roof peak.
And that is the height of his existing garage height.
Correct, of the existing attached garage height.
And we're talking about the peak.
Yes.
Okay.
This drawing?
Yes, that's correct. So off to the left there, you can see it's in line with the existing garage, which you can see with the two.
So you got that protrusion, and then you got the top of the roof line. Okay. So
Correct.
it would be to that height of 25 feet.
Correct.
Tim, can you point it out on the drawing for me?
So we would want to make it the same as this existing roof line.
Okay, thank you. And you're saying that's 25 feet? Because then we would, I think my recommendation would be, if the board is, we wouldn't take it any higher than 25 feet. Because if we don't know the height, we don't want him to be able to take it up
Right,
30 feet. Right.
Or 40
okay.
feet, yeah.
Or whatever, yeah.
Right, no, I
Okay,
gotcha.
thank you. I apologize. I just,
No, that's okay. Well, I guess at this point, because we're still unsure, we don't want to limit ourselves to anything less than 28 feet, as the height is still unknown.
If we need to make if it needs to be, if there's a limit that's gonna be clarified now, can we just go 28 feet?
I would-
And then we'll still match the existing, but just in case we're off 2 feet, 3 feet, I'd just like to have that extra tolerance.
but would you be okay with the existing roof line?
Yes,
So the max would be to the existing roof line? Because I don't want to give you 28, Tim, and you're only at 26. Because once our approval, and again, I'm only one voice and it's got to get approved. If we say 28 and your roof line's only 26, you're able to go 28. So I would like to max it out at that potential roof line. If
so
that's-
how would you word it if we did 28, but no more than the existing?
If you're, you got to be comfortable, we would do it up to, I don't know, that's something for us to
Well,
discuss.
You want to say existing roof, the roof line would be, because there's two different, you've got multiple layers of roofing at your house, Tim.
Yes.
I know your house. So from that standpoint, you say existing roof line, there's
I would say
multiple roof
off-
lines there.
Yeah, off the
so,
garage. Whatever one he
think-
wants to,
Yeah, I don't know how you would
Mr.
word that correctly to,
Mr. Chairman,
yes, sir.
if I may, and I'm sure Adam's about to probably chime in with this. So you can't use existing roof line because this will stay with the lot forever?
I understand.
So they could tear down the house and build a different height house. So you need a specification?
Well, that's why I was saying existing roof line. I was questioning the existing roof
Yeah.
line commented, Paul. That's why I was.
Yeah, you need
I
a
was mentioning
specification because it's going to be tied to the property. So,
Right.
And the best specification obviously seems to be the left side of the home, right? So that's
From this
what you're trying to
rendering,
match.
correct.
So whatever that, do we know with certainty that specification? We have a lot of information here. I'm just wondering, do we have certainty on that?
I
Oh, I
haven't,
apologize for not having that specific height, but I do not have it.
So I think if we're hesitant to say the existing roof line, at this time, we would be comfortable with not to exceed 28 feet,
That is correct.
if the board would be okay with that. But it's not his intention that it would exceed the lesser of 28 feet or the existing roof line. In addition to the exterior garage height, Chapter 11, Section B3 also discusses the finished ceiling height and that it's not exceeding 10 feet from the existing grade. Again, this exact finished ceiling height is also unknown at this time, but the proposed garage will contain 10-foot walls. But rather than having an enclosed and finished ceiling, the petitioner intends to maintain sort of an open A-frame look, to where the top of the peak from the inside would not exceed 20 feet. But again, the walls of the proposed garage would be 10-foot walls. Approval of this developmental variance on these three items would not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. The proposed garage will be properly built, be consistent with the look of the rest of the residents, and a majority of the neighboring residents approve and support the petition. If you look on tab 4, here we've supplied a few letters of support from neighboring property owners. One from Christian Jorgensen, one from Marina DeSanto, who is also the president of the HOA, tied to the area, and then Sam and Connie Litwiak, who is the the direct adjacent property owner.
Okay.
The use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance would not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. There is no adjacent area to the property that would be substantially adversely affected, as the proposed garage is off to the side of the residence, would be properly built, and would be consistent in physical appearance as the rest of the residence. The area adjacent to the property included in the variance is owned by Sam and Connie Litwiak, who has offered a letter in support of the petition. And lastly, the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance would result in practical difficulties in the use of the property. Petitioner and petitioner's family have several vehicles that they would like to be able to store in a garage to shield from the elements, as well as maintain a better-looking residence for public viewing, quite frankly, to avoid it looking like a parking lot.
Give me a second, you gave us a lot of information here to kind of digest, so.
That's okay.
So the neighbor directly to his
Be his west.
west is Litwakia.
Litwiak, yes, that's correct.
Craig, have we received any remonstration?
Steal my thunder.
We have not received any written remonstration, but if I may, I have a question, Mr. LaRue.
Yes, please.
And I guess I'm asking for just guidance from Mr. Decker, our attorney. We did receive return receipt cards for all of the property owners listed on the list provided by the assessor's office, with the exception of the one being Sam and Connie Litwiak, who submitted a letter, if you will, that says, "This is to confirm I, Sam and Connie Litwiak, residing at 10132 West Wellington Court, St. John, Indiana, 46373, Wellington, Lot 21, have received the certified letter dated 10/13/20 from Tim Caballero."
Yes.
Sorry, I don't want to say it improperly. Regarding a variance for detached garage height, and interior garage ceiling height. Original certified letter was accidentally lost. I have no objections to this variance relief from the town code. I do believe that we have we do have the original certified mail receipt. So unless Attorney Decker has any concerns, I believe that based on the review of these receipts, as well as the receipt of the proof of publication and the affidavit of service, that we are okay to go forward with hearing this, having the public hearing on this item tonight. But I just wanted to verify, Mr. Decker, that you're okay with that based on that information.
Yes, Mr. Phillips, based on what you've provided, I believe that satisfies
Okay.
our rules and regulations.
Okay, so it looks like we're ready to go forward with the public hearing on this. I just wanted to ask that question, given the peculiarity of the letter that was received.
Sure. Thank you. Any questions, John, at this time?
Just two real quick questions. Just for cars, no other activity in there, and then,
Residential garage purposes.
okay, and
Normal
then
storage.
material use will be similar to what's currently at the house?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome, thank you.
Have a seat for a second. And we'll open it up for any public comment or questions. I don't think you're here for that. Okay, I have to ask. So we'll open up then we'll close that public comment.
Are you speaking on behalf of Tim?
Did I say that we did not receive any remonstrance?
You did.
Okay, sorry.
Would you mind, just for the record, stating your name and address and that either you support it, just so we have it on record? That'd be great.
Jim Mauer,
Oh, I didn't recognize you, Jim.
yeah, with the mask, right? 10152 West Wellington Court, and we do support it.
All right,
Thanks, Jim.
thank you. Jim.
Appreciate it. Knew you looked familiar, just couldn't put the eyes with the rest of the face. Okay. I'm gonna step back up to the podium again. Nancy, do you have any questions?
I do. I just want to make sure in my head I have it clear. So we do not know the height of the current garage, correct?
That's correct.
And so if we give a variance, if we say okay, we have to leave it kind of loose-ended.
No, we're not gonna do that. So there's the statement, or according to what we've been given here, is we're not gonna exceed the current height of the structure, but as Mr. Panzik mentioned, we have to have an exact number here. So I believe we've come up
Right.
with 28 feet,
That's what he's
not to
suggesting.
exceed 28 feet on the exterior.
So if they go back and it's really 26 feet, they have the okay, if we go with 28, to go 28.
That is correct.
Is that, okay.
I don't think you want sticking out like a sore thumb, do you?
It's not my intention, no.
Okay.
And members of the board, in the future, we will more closely review the applications before they're received. I apologize, I came into this midstream,
Yep.
since obviously Rick has left employment with the town. And I will make sure that it's clear what's being requested, and that we're varying from exact numbers when it comes to developmental standards variances, so that we don't have
There's
this.
a lot of things we're dealing with
Happen
right
again.
now, and this is just part of it, so it's understandable.
Normally, I would have contacted, the petitioner and requested that additional information.
Adam,
Yes,
is there a way we could put it into terms, and I understand what Paul is saying because he's been doing this a lot longer than I have, but is there a way to term it to say he will meet his existing, and I understand the house can change in 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, and this zoning ordinance stays with the lot, not with the homeowner. Is there a way we can term it to say he's maxed out at existing existing lot
particular date?
at this particular date and time? Is that feasible or no? Paul's shaking his head, so it doesn't look that way.
That's the only way you could do that.
Okay,
yeah, I think Paul's comments earlier were correct. And, I think if if it were to be approved, I suspect you could, the distance from foundation to the peak of the existing structure is a known, well, it's unknown, but it's a fixed quantity that can be ascertained. So I would submit that I think as part of the consideration, I think the BZA could put a condition on the approval that the peak not exceed the current height of the peak of the improvement closest to where the garage would be located. I mean, I'm looking at the drawing on my computer, so I think that could be included in the consideration of the board tonight. I agree with Paul that unfortunately that's not specific because we don't know that the actual height, but that height can be readily determined. So in any event, you could say that or make that motion, and then certainly couch that, in no event shall it exceed 28 feet. So I think you could try to include that because I think the petitioners have indicated on the record that that's their intention, that the peak height would be the same as the peak height of the current existing structure at that location closest to where the garage would be located.
He's just a rule follower, so if we tell him 25, he's gonna stick to 25, and he doesn't wanna break the rules, so. But at the same time, Tim, you just have to understand, this goes with a lot, so hypothetically, if you move out of town and in 30 years, someone could build a house 28 feet, they would then be allowed to take, or if we don't give you a certain max, they can build a house, and then they can go up as high as that house line. So that's why we wanna put some sort of range on there.
I understand, and I'm fine with the verbiage if everybody agrees to the roof line closest, the existing roof line closest to the garage.
Paul, I'm gonna lean on you. I mean, Craig, I know you've done this a lot. Paul and I have gone through this multiple times, so.
If you were to word it as Adam worded it with the existing as of 11/16/2020.
Of the portion of the house nearest to the proposed
Correct.
structure.
The
Because the
garage
garage
portion,
is actually
yeah.
not the closest to the structure, if I'm not mistaken. The garage
Burger will
is,
be then the next structure to the garage we're counting.
because the garage, if I'm not mistaken, if you're looking at this drawing on the screen.
Oh,
is
it's the house.
projecting out towards us,
That's
Yeah.
correct.
and
That
then
is
the
correct.
side is a portion of the home, the interior portion of the
Right.
home.
Okay,
So I would just make sure that we're clear that it's the portion of the house, existing structure that is closest to the proposed detached garage.
okay.
And one other thing I'd recommend is, as far as any other accessory or detached structures, I would not permit any. I would recommend having verbiage about that.
As a condition,
No more.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
so.
No
Because
sheds
otherwise
or
someone
any
could come back
out-
later and put
outbuildings or
another
something.
detached, like you've approved detached structures. I mean, it could just specify
Yeah,
that
nice
this.
talk. Where you
yeah.
going?
Well, what is his square footage then on, because his lot is over, he's allowed so much square footage, right?
Yeah, I'm curious what the lot size is.
It's large.
Do you know your lot size by chance? Are you over an acre?
He's,
Oh, yeah.
You are.
yeah, he's like 40 some,
It's almost it's like 1.5, 2 acres or so. He's on the corner there.
1.1,
I thought that was closer to, that's only 1.1?
Zoning ordinance.
That was bigger
It's
than
either
that.
1 acre or 2 acres is a threshold that actually allows.
so over 30,000 square feet, he gets an additional 540 square feet of additional space.
This came in through Rick, so. I'm not sure.
Just looking to see if it shows it in any of their drawings here. Okay, here's the. Ah, jeez. Can't read those.
If I may, accessory uses in buildings excluding garage structures with the primary purpose of parking passenger vehicles. A maximum of 2 accessory structures are permitted on an individual zoning lot, provided that the square footage of all accessory buildings does not exceed 250 square feet.
That's
So what, okay. So I mean.
The
so what-
recommendation, I'm sorry, so the recommendation I was making in the past, and I'm not telling you how to do this or how to vote on it, but in the past, usually when someone would build an extra garage to store their extra stuff in their car and their riding mower and all that, then we would say, okay, then that now excludes you from getting a shed also, and, just keep building and building and building, so
So what-
that's something you may want to consider. It's just that we've done that in the past,
Done in
so.
the past, is we limit the amount, then there's no other additional accessory buildings or outbuildings that can be built on the property, is what's all what Mr. Pancic is saying.
So like right now, you're allowed 250 square feet of a shed with no detached garage. So with you coming before the BZA, you're saying, okay, I'd want a garage, if I can get a detached garage. But in the past, the BZA has, our precedence has been, okay, you get a detached garage, but you can't have any other sheds or anything else above that 250.
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
So just so I get this correct for the findings of fact, there shall be no additional there shall be no additional accessory structures on the lot.
Which you're currently allowed of 250 square feet, so you're saying,
You're okay with not having that,
Yes.
and then
essentially?
any future ownership, they would have that same restriction. They could not put any additional, but that's here and there. Okay.
Any other questions, John?
Just a question for Mr. Decker.
Yes.
Does that wording sound okay to you as far as there shall be no additional accessory structures permitted on the lot?
Yes, I think that would be a correct description of the condition that has been considered by the board, and I think also agreed upon by the petitioner.
Adam, at some future date, whether it's this petitioner or another petitioner, they can come back to the BZA to try to seek a variance to this, correct? Just for a learning experience?
Yeah, this doesn't preclude a future owner from coming back before the Board of Zoning Appeals if they have some request to make.
This would preclude them, or they could still at least ask?
No, they could ask. They
Okay.
could certainly ask. There's
Okay.
nothing that would preclude them from asking.
Okay,
We
Very
don't have
good.
to say yes.
we would have to say yes. Okay, understand. Okay.
So it's no additional accessory structures exceeding 250 square feet?
No, we're going to
We're
say
saying
Or
no.
no
we're
accessory
taking
structures
everything
at
off
all?
the table at that point, because
okay.
if we're going to allow this
If we're going to
additional
allow the
structure.
detached garage,
Okay.
we're going to make a recommendation of no
Okay.
accessory structure.
No extra tin sheds.
No.
Okay.
Chicken coop? Okay. Tit shed?
Chicken coop, I think those are cool.
I think Mr. Mauer might have a problem with the chicken coop, though. I'm just teasing. Anyway, Nancy, do you have any questions?
No, I got my questions answered. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And Tim, just so we all on the same page, of recommendation going to be made to approve a detached garage, that the height will be based on the structure closest to the garage, existing height as of today, not to exceed 28 feet. I've never had an interior garage finish ceiling height question brought before us,
I
so
neither.
I understand what you're doing. It's open air. And then the contingent on this recommendation will be that no additional structure, accessory structure will be allowed on the property.
Understood, but when you say the nearest structure, you mean the nearest
Portion of the
roof
structure.
structure?
Nearest roof,
Yeah.
the roof to the closest to the garage.
Yeah.
That's the roof line you want to take it to.
That's correct.
Okay.
Mr. Kennedy,
Oh, Jesus.
this is,
When an attorney says Mr. Kennedy, that's always a bad side. Okay.
just to make sure, you made reference to a recommendation. There is no recommendation
We
tonight.
approve, yes, we approve, yes, I apologize, yes.
Right, this is not a use variance that would be a recommendation. This is a variance from the development standards, which is a decision that's made by the BZA alone.
Correct.
So it's either approved or disapproved.
Yes, yes, thanks for the clarification. If there's no other questions, I will make a
entertain
motion to approve. Adam, can I make a motion to approve all three, or do I have to do each one separately?
Well, Mr. Kennedy, I think it probably would be best for the record to do them separately.
Okay. I will make a motion, to approve a detached garage for the petitioner, that the approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare of the community. The use and value of the adjacent area to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner, that the strict application of the terms of the ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of property.
Along with the contingencies that
Oh.
you mentioned.
With the contingency that there would be no auxiliary structure on the property, storage structure. Because I'll do the height at the other one.
Okay. I have a motion. Do I have a second? Nancy?
You need you, Nancy.
Well, what if I don't? What if my vote was nay? Then I can't second.
Then if you can't, you could, okay, Nancy, here's what I understand, and Adam will clarify this. You could second opens it up for discussion. It does not mean you have to approve.
You have to
Adam-
still vote on the approval.
And then we'll have discussion, and then we will have a vote. And then at that time, you could vote, and if we don't carry a majority, then what happens? Does it
Okay,
get
then I will-
denied, or does it, then at that time, what would happen at that time, Adam? Would he not be able to seek it again in a month when we,
Mr. Kennedy, if the vote is a nay, I mean, I suppose you could entertain a deferral too, so just.
I mean, if
Where
it's a
you're
two,
going,
if it's
it's
a 2-1 and you don't get whatever the vote is, if we don't get a majority vote, what happens?
Then
Will we get-
no final action can be taken.
So then it would be deferred to the next month, or do we have to make a motion to defer?
That question would be one for Adam.
Right, so I hate to get into hypothetical questions because we haven't even brought the motion to the table, so to speak.
Okay,
But, yeah, so, I mean, I think let's just take this one step at a time. I would, if there is no second to the motion, then the motion fails for a second, and there would be no action taken. Then I submit that the board could consider a deferral if it was inclined to go that route.
all right.
So then we could then push it and defer to the next month. We had more people, more members.
Or if Nancy, I mean, either more questions, more details, maybe she's concerned about the height of the garage, we can get that information set up.
That's my biggest concern.
Nice.
I just don't like that. I understand we're going to say the existing structure. I don't like the fact that, who knows?
Mr.
You know, what
Cavallaro,
could happen?
can I ask Mr. Cavallaro a question? Can you recall approximately the date that the home was built?
2008.
2008? Okay.
Yes.
So in the event that this is deferred, I would do my best to try to find the documentation from when his home was constructed, so that we could verify the information or work with Mr. Cavallaro to get that information.
Well, Nancy, can I ask you this question? Because the motion was only for a detached garage. It was not for the height. Are you comfortable with a detached garage?
Yes, but my belief was that we had to specify the height. We do not?
That's in the second.
So there's 3 motions we're approving today. One is a detached garage. The second
Okay.
one would be the height of the garage. And the third would be that it doesn't have a finished roof ceiling of 10 feet.
Okay.
So all he would be able to do is have a detached garage, but the height, he would currently be restricted at the height of 14
14
feet,
feet.
which he does not, he's seeking a variance from. So right now, we could approve the detach, if you're comfortable with the contingent of no additional structure. We could then defer the height of the structure until a later date, until we get confirmed
What the actual height's going to be.
height is. And then we could potentially approve the no ceiling height at 10 feet, if you're comfortable, if, so,
I am.
okay.
I'm
So
comfortable with that. I'm, you know,
Nancy,
That's
Nancy, that's your prerogative, and so, there's a motion for
Okay.
detached garage
We have a motion for detached,
With a
approval of
contingent-
detached garage.
with a contingency of no auxiliary structures.
Correct. On the property.
So I have that motion to approve.
I'm
and I
sorry,
second that motion.
and if it's open for discussion, Mr. Chairman,
Or what would
I hate to insert myself again. You may want to specify what was promised for, or committed for building materials and such as well, as part of that.
I will amend my motion to approve a detached garage. Detached garage with a contingency that the material will be similar or of same nature of the existing house, the existing structure. Only recreational vehicle use inside, and no auxiliary structure of 250 feet.
We have a
I second the
motion, we have a
motion.
second.
I second
Thank you.
that.
Thank you, Nancy.
Second. Mr. President, I'll make a motion to defer the variance for the height.
Okay. A motion for deferral on item 2 of the height of the structure. Do I have a second?
I second that.
We have a second? No, sorry, take it on.
That's correct. That's fine. And then the third thing, John, you had,
We gotta do roll call on that.
I'm sorry.
Did we do roll call on the first one?
No, we did not.
Not yet.
We can.
Yeah, you should do
first
roll
and
call,
second.
yeah.
So let's do the roll call. I'm sorry, we're getting ahead of ourselves here. So, on the first motion for the detached garage with the contingencies that Mr. Kennedy listed, we'll take a roll call vote.
Mr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Ms. Willand?
Yes. Yes.
And Mr. LaRue?
Yes. On the matter of deferral of the actual height of the detached garage until the next meeting,
I'll make a motion to defer.
and I do have a second.
I second.
Roll call for the vote.
Sorry, I'm catching up here, sorry.
Sure, sorry. Running through
Breaking
these.
this into 3 is a lot of scribbling.
Sure.
So a motion to defer, Mr. Kennedy, and seconded by Ms. Wolin, to defer the height, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Height of the roof line.
Okay. Mr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Ms. Wolin,
Yes.
Mr. LaRue.
Yes. Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the interior garage finish to exceed the 10 feet.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
Roll call and vote, please.
Mr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Ms. Wolin,
Yes.
Mr. LaRue.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, 2 of the 3, Tim. We knocked down 2 of them. We just got to get that other piece together, and then we can move this process forward.
I just have a clarifying question. So
Please.
the elevation you're looking for would be from the top of the finished concrete floor?
We want to, yeah,
Okay, so we got the top of foundation of the house,
Uh,
we got the interior first floor is
Top
actually,
of the grade, from the top of the grade, adjacent to that portion of the house, to the ridge.
well, we'll want to know how high you want to take the garage.
So if I can, so from the grade
yes,
to the ridge.
got it, okay.
Well, what if the garage grade is different than the house grade, and then the garage is, say, the foundation of the garage is 2 feet under the grade of the house, and so the actual garage is 2 feet?
That's how height on a structure is measured?
Okay,
is finished grade adjacent, so, and I believe they look to be about the same on the drawing. At least a portion of that proposed accessory structure, a detached garage, appears to be at about the same grade.
So give us some, from the current, the point next to between the garage and the pergola, that corner there, Tim, you can give us that height. That'll be the determining factor of how high we can go.
Okay.
I think if I remember, your property kind of slopes down towards the west and the south a bit there, right?
Yes.
Towards Jim's house? Okay.
And I apologize for not having that because I just don't have the.
That's okay. It's just,
100%
you gotta come back and see us again. That's what
No,
this
yeah.
means.
So it's a great opportunity for that. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, before you
Yes.
send Tim away, two more things. I didn't see a variance for square footage, which is pretty common with these normally. So have you checked and made sure you're within the square footage allowed for it?
Yes, Rick Everly did mention what they were.
Okay.
And the day I was here to fill his paperwork out that he
Yes.
helped me with,
Yeah.
I measured my garage
Yeah.
and I am under the.
Yeah, because you're allowed, because your lot is over 30,000 square foot, you're allowed the normal 1,100 plus an additional 540, so a total of 1,640 square foot amongst all of your garages, okay? So that's the allowed amount. And it took me a minute to find it. I knew this was in here. Lots over an acre are actually allowed a detached garage and don't require a variance for the detached garage. You'd still be here for the other variances, but,
I didn't even need to be here.
what's that?
No, you had to be here for.
No,
the
you had to
other
be
thing.
here. You still, because you have a height variance.
How big is this lot?
and- I'm sorry?
It's
How big
over,
is this
it's
lot?
over an acre. I don't know, I have the
You
exact.
said it's over an
couldn't
acre?
Can you repeat that, what you just said?
It's in chapter 11, section B, section B1, detached residential garage in a residential zoned area. Hang on a second. Where is it?
B2, total
B2.
square footage residential garage, whether attached or detached, shall not exceed 1,100 square feet per the residential lot or parcel. Detached garages are prohibited on lots less than 1 acre. If a lot is over 30,000 square feet or larger in area, then additional 540 square feet of a garage area shall be allowed in addition to the allowable 1,100. So you're allowed 1,640 is what they're saying.
Yep. And you're allowed it attached if you're over an acre. But you'd still be here for the height variance. The height is 14 foot or the structure, but it says, it has the word shall in front of both, so 14 foot's the limit, so you'd be here for a height variance regardless, and the 10-foot interior ceiling, and I understand why you'd want to make it bigger inside, maybe we'll put a lift in there or something like that, so, you know.
so Paul, so he's now we're
Just don't,
reviewing
I know
this.
where you're gonna go with that, just because if you're under an acre by that much, you're under an
Yeah,
acre.
you're covered.
So let's just keep what we have.
You
on
advertise,
plate.
you,
If you're
yeah,
gonna
it's
go.
fine.
Well, no, I was just saying, now we restricted him for any additional storage unit because we assumed he needed a detached garage, or he needed
I
a,
didn't hear the hammer though, the gap, you didn't do the gap, you didn't.
no, but we have a motion and we had approval, so he's allowed a detached garage, but we made a contingency
We don't have evidence that he's under an acre, so you've taken the conservative route, it's fine.
It's like Paul just said, it's a conservative route on that, John. Quit being the
I'm just,
devil's
I
advocate
just
here.
want to make sure everyone's,
I'm just looking to see. All right. I got nothing else, Tim.
All right.
Anybody else have any other questions? Just, okay.
So it's a simple deferral, so,
Yeah.
yeah, it's,
I mean, you weren't under a time frame, were you?
No, so now I can move forward with drawings.
Yeah.
You can move forward with drawings,
Yeah.
but, well,
We just need you back to, for the
drawings
height.
are, we'll need to know the height of those drawings. And then your drawings will be determined on the approval to go the height you need.
I'll take that.
There's nothing else?
Is the only method of giving you that information for me to come back next month, or could I just email you something?
Well, I would email it to,
You can email it to me, but it
We're
needs to
still
be
gonna have
considered
to-
next month at the.
Come
at the
Come back
regular
again
meeting.
and do this fun little dance again, yeah, unfortunately.
but I mean, it's,
It's
if I
not
can
like we just
interject,
need a
it's
number.
simple.
We just
They-
need
just
a
need a
number.
number.
That's
They're-
all it is.
It seems the board's will is to
grant
the
it, we
variance.
just want to have
They just need the
a number
specification.
to make sure we're not getting something that's going to be,
We just don't want you to be able to max it out. We don't want you to put a 3-story building on the,
new condo or something over there in Wellington, you know. So, thank you for your time. That's it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
I didn't know that.
Stings with the property, and so
Our next
Tricky stuff
item is,
sometimes, yeah. We have to be
are they
very
not
careful.
here tonight?
I don't believe the petitioner's here. I
Okay.
don't know why.
So,
I don't believe I received any correspondence to the, to that effect.
are they online perhaps or something? Do we have any other people that
Um,
have come on virtually? Thanks.
I don't see anybody virtually because all I see is Nancy Woland and Adam Decker.
Do you have proof of publication for
I
that?
do have proof of publication, and I have reviewed the mailings, and we have, everything is in order to consider the request.
So then I should read it and then we say that there's no one here to present, or what's the
Or you could-
approach to this?
I had a question
You could
for 'em.
defer it.
For it.
I would
Make 'em-
recommend deferring it
Yeah.
because it just could be a unfortunate
Something happened.
incident that kept them away, so we don't want to waste their.
I still have to read what we're here for on.
Just the
Correct.
agenda item, and
Okay,
then.
right, that's
yeah.
what I mean, okay. Next item of business is 2020-0009, MHI Sterling McFarland Homes, 8350 Larkspur Terrace. Petitioner is seeking a relief for zoning ordinance, chapter 24-125. And by the way, I could not find this or.
Yeah, let me speak to that effect, and I have not had a chance to speak with Attorney Decker about this. This, this is a bit of confusion that exists between our versions of the ordinance that are available online. And this was brought to my attention actually by Attorney Gerlimos before this meeting as well. There are two versions of the zoning ordinance online. There is one that's part of the code, published by Code Publishing Corporation. If you go to the town ordinances and go to the town code, there's one set of numbers in terms of the organization of the document. And then if you go to the development tab on the town's website, there's a reference to the zoning ordinance, and it pulls up the document that refers to the numbering format that you referenced in the previous request. So there is some confusion, and I do intend to work with Attorney Decker on what we need to do with regard to that. But that's, I can, I guess I can make sure that when we put the agenda together, I didn't put this agenda together, so when the agenda is put together, that we're consistent in terms of how that's listed. But we do need to make a determination as to which version is correct. Because it
Nice
is
to know.
two different formats. And it caused a lot of confusion with the previous petitioner, as I said. So that's how I found out about it.
They're actually both correct. This one is codified and the other one is, yeah, so it is confusing, but yeah,
yeah.
It might be nice to have it may end up having to be that way, but I'm sure Attorney Decker will
Yeah.
point us in the right direction when we do the
So
revision.
that's why that is, and,
I go to this thing here and it wasn't, 21 is
Correct.
is the only last chapter in this particular
correct,
document.
correct. And so it's very confusing.
Okay.
And I don't have the ordinance in front of me right this minute, so I can look it
Okay.
up. I can't tell you what that corresponds to. But it doesn't
That's
matter
fine.
if you're gonna defer it
We're gonna
anyway,
yeah.
then, but I'm aware of the issue and I do intend to discuss it with Attorney Decker.
Okay, thank you. So on item B of tonight's agenda, I need a motion to defer.
I'll make that motion to defer.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Mr. President, discussion?
Yes.
Paul, question for you. I know Rick wanted to go to the base, the foundation of a building to determine side yard setback. But he has always mentioned it's actually the eaves of the house. So is it the eaves?
This has been a source of confusion for a while. John Gill could answer that question if he was here.
Because
I'm trying to remember.
I always thought Rick said it was the eaves, but he wanted to change it to
He
the,
wanted to change it, right?
To the-
Currently in St. John practices, they go to the eave, which is quite variable.
Right.
And they wanted to go to the wall, but then there could be issues with that as well. So, but yes, so let's just stick with
In
what's
the
current.
past, we have gone off the foundation, not off the eave.
Right.
You've got one over here was one in preserves, and there was one in,
You're talking about for side yard? Well, let me look it up.
yes, for side yard. What was the other one was over, what was the other one at?
see, I thought we went off the eaves.
No, we went off the foundation, the last two that I remember.
Common practice is,
Oh.
is foundation.
what I always thought,
Absolutely.
too.
Greg,
Common
that's
practice is
exactly
foundation.
what, but I think I don't know how our ordinance
But there
is
might be
written.
an issue with our ordinance language.
And we're about to revise the
We're
ordinance.
about to
One of the
revise
things
it,
we're
so I
gonna
just
be
want,
hashing
because
out.
I know this drawing is based off the footings. And again, we're gonna get into that situation is he's asking for a 6-foot-inch setback.
And there should be.
Should we,
Yeah.
And most ordinances have a maximum overhang, so that you avoid any issues with a home being too close to another home, that there is a minimum separation between those. But we have to go off of what's in our ordinance, and,
so that's why I just wanted to question it, why we have discussion point now.
yeah.
So
and
when
I
we come
would-
to
I would have to look that up.
December, we'll have a better understanding.
Okay, so we've got a motion and we've got a second. Let's vote to defer this and we can take this other stuff
Okay.
after that and then move on. So we have a motion and a second. Can we please have roll call for vote?
Mr. Kennedy,
Yes,
Ms. Woland,
Yes.
Mr. LaRue.
Yes. Motion carries for deferment for item B, MH Sterling and McFarland Homes, 8350 Lake Spur Terrace. So, John, back to your point, where do we see that information in,
I couldn't find it.
yeah, I couldn't find it either
My conversations have just been verbal with,
with Rick in the past. I can
and he,
remember that we-
and he absolutely concurs with what Craig is saying right now.
No, and
he
that, to me,
absolutely
that makes
concurs,
the
and
most
so-
sense, that would be the.
But
how
he
we
was
would-
always concerned that our ordinance read,
Okay, here, I found it. I just had to do a little word search. Under definitions,
can you get the
What's the page number?
chapter? Yeah.
so chapter 19, page 33. Under definitions, I see setback, the minimum horizontal distance between the street line and the nearest point of a building or any projection thereto, including eaves, porches, and any other building projection. So that's in reference to the street, but notice it,
Still getting there, Paul, hang on.
What was that section again?
chapter
Page
19.
33,
Page 13,
Page 33.
oh, page 33.
It's the last item. Minimum horizontal distance between the street line and the nearest point of the building, to eaves, porches, and any other building. Okay, so that doesn't talk about,
It's the closest thing that there is to a definition in here. It really is. And I think that's what Rick was referencing, and we need to clean that up in the zoning ordinance revision. So, and that'll be a job for the plan commission. We'll work on that and clarify that language. So we have a setback, and then we have a setback line. I know what the line is. That's determined on the plat, on the survey, but
So this petitioner is asking for a 6-inch, I think it was 6-inch
I think it was 6-inch.
variance, but based off the drawings, it was based off the foundation, and
Right.
they have a gutter and a very small gutter. I shouldn't say very small gutter, they got probably a standard gutter, so you're talking maybe another 6 inches. So I just want to make sure how, I always thought we went off the eaves.
yep, like I said, the only definition I could find is for the setback from the street, which does not, that's not a side yard.
Doesn't say side yard setback.
See if there's anything else. That's the only occurrence of the word eve. Hang on a second.
Wait, here, there's side yard, there's yard side. Yard existing from the front yard of the rear being the minimum between the nearest part of the building and the side lot line, page 44.
Yeah.
Found something?
Wait, stay on that page, Paul. Go to, it's where it says yard,
What
and
page?
it's the fourth one down. It's yard, yard front, yard rear, yard
Yard
side.
On what page?
44, the one you're on right now.
Chapter 19, 44.
Chapter 19, page 44. A yard extending from the front yard, oh wait, yeah,
To the rear yard minimum of
between the
horizontal distance
nearest part of the
between nearest part of
building
the building
and
and
the
the side
side.
lot. Lot line, sorry. That really doesn't tell you.
That
anything either.
that is vague. And then the definition of setback, that's what Paul just read.
Correct.
The nearest part of the building. So that's where they get the eave.
And then, guys, I would not have caught that unless Rick. So I just want to make sure how we clear, I mean, if we're going to go off the foundation, let's, I mean, I know we got to,
So,
Rick wanted to clean that up, so.
This has been talked about before, and Craig, I don't believe you were present. So I did have a concern moving away from this language because, I mean, really, you could put a 6-foot overhang, and with
Yeah,
with
but
posts,
but Craig
and-
mentioned the
and now
fact that we
it's-
do have limits on those things though too, correct?
Well, when we amend the ordinance, might want to consider the maximum overhang. A lot of ordinances have a maximum overhang.
So do we get away with it, or do we go away until we make that, restriction?
I think the variance needs to be applied for as the ordinance is written today.
Currently, yeah.
So if they need to apply, they may have to re-advertise and republish if they did not use the rate.
Let me pull up that drawing real quick.
I'm guessing if there's a side yard setback issue, they poured the foundation wrong.
Yeah, that looks, I'm now looking at it again, they poured it wrong.
Here's the,
It's 8 foot, it's 8.5 on one side, 9.8 on the others, on the back.
but that's to the foundation.
Correct. That's all we have to go off of though at this point.
And the challenge here is that the common usage of that term, and we're dealing with, builders that are dealing with more than one community, the common usage of that term is the foundation.
Correct.
So there is some
That's how I
confusion.
would take it. I'm not a builder, so I'm not.
So, and Adam can correct me if I'm wrong here. I think we're covered, and I'll tell you why. They applied for a side yard variance, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so the specification can be inserted at the time that you make a motion. So they simply had to apply for a variance to that particular portion of our code.
Because I don't know what this chapter 24-125 is.
Yeah, so as long as they applied for a side yard variance,
Real quick.
no different than the height variance you just heard about the garage, you were able to specify. Okay, so same thing, when they apply for a side yard variance, you could specify not to exceed this certain specifications. So I think you're okay as far as the way they advertised and published, is that they want a variance for side yard.
Right. Because it appears that our concrete boys didn't pour it correctly. Again, that's going off an 8-foot side yard easement, or setback, I should say, and they poured it a
So,
foot one direction too much.
yeah, so you will need them to measure the specification to the eaves, just so you have that, so that if you choose to grant that variance, you'll have that specification to insert. But it won't be what you have in front of you now. It'll be something slightly different.
Craig, I hate to put another thing on your plate, but will you be able to notify the petitioner?
Yeah, but
Well, I mean, it was a PUD. Did the PUD have different,
It does, but they're specified. Craig copied that into the package.
it's the same as 8 foot?
it's in
yeah.
your packet.
Yeah, okay,
They were slightly smaller on some of the pods.
okay, just so that we have that.
Okay, so 24-125 is bulk requirements, so it is,
That's why I took mine off. John's far enough away from me.
Are we waiting for something?
Oh, we
I
got,
was trying to find this 120, this 24-125 for me. I don't know what the devil it is.
and then we gotta make a motion referring the,
Yeah.
BZA rules, just until we get more people, more time to review.
Probably should do that now before we get any further down the road with this other stuff. Last item on the agenda is resolution amending the public notice requirements to the rules and regulations. Since we don't have a full contingency of the board, I'd like to see if we can get a motion to defer. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion to defer to the next meeting.
I have a motion. Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Nancy. Can we get a roll call and vote, please?
Mr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Ms. Woland,
Yes.
Mr. LaRue,
Yes. We carry the deferment of item C on the agenda, and the rest of this is really offline, so we can conclude the meeting.
Well, it's
No,
general
yes.
discussion. I would leave the meeting open. So I found your
Okay.
section here.
I found it too.
Yeah, it's bulk requirements, yard regulations, minimum building size, height. It's the yard, the floating building yard, the side yard, the rear yard.
It's all of that.
It's
So-
5.43C.
Oh, so it's in,
Craig, can you give us a chapter again?
5 point. it's on
Chapter
the screen.
5.
Oh,
here,
I'm
John.
sorry.
Chapter 5, section 5.4, E3C is what that corresponds to. And actually, 24.125 is 24.125 D3. So that's the corresponding sections. So 24-125 D3 corresponds to 5.4 E3C.
But it doesn't say, this says side yard not less than 8 feet.
There should be no more than 2 side yard setbacks, not less than 8 feet in each side yard abutting.
But it doesn't give what we use as our starting point,
Correct.
That's in the definitions.
which is structure.
Setback.
Okay,
Structure setback, right?
from the structure.
Any other questions, comments? We will adjourn the meeting.